the happy partners, from the angry partners, from the non-partners that don't want to use Datto for whatever reason, so that can help drive our roadmap. So we bring back feedback back to the think tank in our leadership meetings to figure out what problems we need to resolve. I mentioned our partner portal. We've got Mike, Jason, and Joe. They're all going to be great resources for you. They're going to come up towards the end. I mentioned our vendor sponsor. Webroot's going to be giving a 10-minute presentation a little bit later on. Cameron Stone, who's a fantastic presenter. I've been on the road with him a bunch. But we also have two other sponsors who are going to come up and give a quick rapid-fire pitch to kind of talk a little bit about what their product is. First, from Citricon, I'm going to bring up Courtney. Give Courtney a little round of applause.
Real quick, who's already a Citricon partner? So talk to these guys. They know what it's like to work with us. But if you don't know who we are, Citricon is a channel-only VoIP provider. We only partner with MSPs and IT companies to make this super easy for y'all to work with, sell, support, all of it. As a partner, you'll get your partner success team. And they're really there to help you every step of the way, allowing you to be as hands-on or hands-off as you want to be. But I could stand up here and talk all day long, and I know y'all don't want to listen to me. So I highly recommend you come get started with a partner account. Doesn't require you to do anything. No sales requirements, no fees, nothing like that. But it does give you full access to our platform and portal. You can test our system out for as long as you want. Have your customers test it out, see what it's like to work with us. And then come see me, ask any questions you have. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have the folks from ASCII coming up. We're going to bring up Trevor. There you go. And Shannon's coming up here. Anybody show of hands who's been to an ASCII event?
How many of you guys have ASCII events before at least? All right, so you kind of know what we're about. We got a few members in the room too, at least 5 or 6. So anyway, what the ASCII group is all about is really helping our members save time, save money, helping you accomplish things you really couldn't do on your own, either because you might not have the financial resources to put together group buys or volume purchase agreements. You might not have the hours in the day. It's just so hard to answer the phone and get back to people. Or you may not just have the staff to help you out with certain marketing initiatives or vetting some of the newer vendors in the channel or just kind of extra tech help. So we're all about making your life a little bit easier, taking the stress off your plate, giving you more business opportunities. Again, if you haven't been to an ASCII event, please come to our next event in the area. Shannon and I will both be there. We're offering everybody in the room here today a 90-day guarantee on membership, so there's no risk at all to get your feet wet and try it out. And again, how many members are in the room? Okay, so if you don't come by the booth and talk to myself or Shannon, talk to some of the members with the little ASCII flag, and they'll be able to kind of give you a different perspective. So again, thanks for your time.
All right, thank you very much. I've probably done 20 or so of these events, and they're fantastic. So thanks, guys.
And we're raffling off money
Oh,
later.
sorry, I forgot to say that. $100, so come by the booth.
Your wife doesn't even have to know about it.
Gotta give me a message.
There you go. I like that. So let's start just quick history of Datto, about Datto. This is an important story to know as you're talking to your prospects and end users because we're channel only. A lot of folks out in the business community don't know who we are. We're not buying big billboards at airports or doing a lot of big TV ads. We're investing that money into resources for you guys. So it's a pretty cool story, right? We're based here in Norwalk. We started here in Norwalk. Our founder was 22. Started building devices by hand. 2007. By 2015, the Wall Street Journal gave us $1 billion valuation. The only unicorn company in the state of Connecticut. So really cool basement to $1 billion story. We've now expanded. We've got 23 offices around the world. We, as of last check this morning, we had 1,858 employees. We're adding like 50 every week, every month. It's pretty crazy. 17,000 partners around the world. And as I mentioned, 100% channel only. That's really been the way that we've gone to market. It's been extremely successful for us. So again, now we're a global company. This is important to know because people are entrusting you with their data, and now they're entrusting Datto to let them know that yes, this is a very well established, one of the largest business continuity providers in the world. It's a pretty easy story to tell there. Okay, so that's important as you're going out to talk. In terms of what we offer, this has expanded pretty significantly as well. For the first 8 years or so, we were just a business continuity provider, right? And we did really well at it, and we were able to bring enterprise-level business continuity down to the SMB space, which was great. But we continued to add to our services. We added SaaS protection, O365 and G Suite. We added networking. Again, these are things that we heard from partners that they wanted to see out in the market. we decided we're going to make a splash and get into that. And then a couple of years back, we merged with Autotask, and now we offer PSA and RMM as well. But I think that we see a lot of mergers in the space, right? Both in the vendor space and even in the MSP space. I see M&A all the time, or even private equity investments into folks like us and folks like you guys. I think one of the differentiators with Datto is instead of being Datto with all these subsidiaries, it truly is one Datto. It truly is a company where if you're just selling our SaaS protection, you're going to have the same partnership levels as if you do if you've got 100 BCDR devices. Maybe you're just using RMM. The idea here is you're a Datto partner. Okay, so when you go to DattoCon, it's our entire product line. It's not a bunch of different booths with different subsidiaries. That's pretty big for us. And so when you look at our history now, it dates all the way back to 2001, the Autotask side of things, prior to the invention of Datto. But you can see a lot of channel experience here and channel-only experience. So we've ridden this wave. We got to $1 billion not because we were great at marketing and doing all these things. We got to $1 billion because we were channel-only, and the channel is riding this wave right now, and I've got some cool stats about that. Now I mentioned when we look at our roadmap, a lot of it comes from these conversations that my team has. A lot of our roadmap comes from what tech support sees. If they see a big problem keep bubbling up, they're going to bring that up to the product team. But our marketing team does a great job as well. They do a lot of different surveys. We've done the State of the MSP report 4 years in a row now. And it gives us good details about what our normal partner looks like, but it's also good information for you guys as well. And I just have a couple stats here, but it's a full report, which is fantastic. And we're seeing a big momentum in terms of hiring, in terms of people moving up market, into seeing like what markets they're going into. Enterprise level, more than 100 seats, which is pretty good. We're seeing really successful total growth within the channel. I was a sales rep 5 years ago. I had a book of business of 80 accounts. Look at how many folks now are in the $1 million and above range when you look at their revenue. I can tell you 5 years ago that was not the case. There's great momentum. The best stat in this entire report is this 100% right here. Nearly 100%. We interviewed like 2,500 MSPs. Almost 100%, 98% said this was a great time to be in this market right now. Think about just doing a survey in any other industry. Think about 2,500 law firms. You think you're going to get close to 98% of folks saying this is a good place to be? That's the momentum that we're seeing. And we're seeing it because end users are understanding the value of working with an MSP. They finally are getting it. So we also interviewed the SMB space, 1,100 SMBs around North America to see how they were consuming their IT, whether they were satisfied or not, and whether they were working with a managed service provider. Now we estimate, and we've got some good numbers here that have been confirmed by some third parties, that about $100 billion with a B is going to be spent through the channel worldwide next year. $100 billion, right? We want to obviously get as big a part of that. We want you to get that, as big a part of that $100 billion as possible. I remember we did this report, similar report last year, and the number was $70 billion for 2019. Now we're looking at $100 billion. Now what was interesting about that number, those 1,100 SMBs that we interviewed, 71% of them were still internal IT only. Only 29% would work with a managed service provider. So $100 billion is being spent on that 29%. Think about the opportunity. It shows that this is not a zero-sum game. You guys aren't going to just grow by stealing competition from the guy sitting next to you. We're not just going to grow by trying to steal business from our competitors. We got to get into that 71%, and it's coming. And people are moving into co-managed, where you're going to move up market into that 100, 200, 500 seat space that maybe the channel wasn't playing in a long time ago. So we look at those numbers and we say, okay, what does this do for our roadmap? What are our partners asking for? How do we all dive into that 71%? Well, that's one of the reasons we have this big, broad, open portfolio. As many products as possible. And giving you the flexibility to use them as you want, right? We've got this open ecosystem idea, right? You don't have to standardize and use all of our products. But we want to make sure that we have as many products as possible for you to offer to your clients, right? To provide services. The bottom line is to offer services that are going to add to your MRR. That's why we've got the managed networking. Looks at networking a little bit differently. Business management, how efficient can you run your business? And then obviously unified continuity, which really, from its existence, has been a cornerstone of the channel. Something that we can offer that to an SMB that they can't get on their own. And again, that open ecosystem. We all play nice with each other. You go to DattoCon, we had 92 vendors. There were direct competitors of ours on that floor, right? Which is fine. Because we're fine with you working with other vendors. Obviously, we want you under the full stack umbrella. We also know that everybody in this room's got a different business model. They might be very happy with one of their product lines, right? We want to make sure those integrations occur, and I think most of the vendors in the space are doing the same thing. But ultimately, every decision we make is not made in a vacuum with these glasses on saying, okay, what do we think is going to be cool? What do we think our partners want? We just listen directly to you through forums, through the team that I'm on, through our sales reps, to make sure that every single thing that we do, a decision that we make, an offering that we make, has an MSP focus to it. There's my team out there, but look at all these different teams and technologies that are there to support you. Everything goes into trying to support the MSP because we can't grow unless you guys grow. And then ultimately, it comes down to the technology. That's the only thing that your end user cares about, right? We got a good head start on this market. We were down doing SMB business continuity back in 2007. Now, there's a lot of vendors offering very good products in that space right now. Right? Competition breeds innovation, so that's helping us grow. That's helping us say, we got to be the first one to market. We've got a lot of proprietary pieces of technology. We got to make sure that we continue to do that. It's driving us forward. So we'll start with unified continuity, the business continuity. This is our flagship product line, right? So we've been in this space for 10 years, and I mentioned, 12 years ago, a lot of folks didn't think that an enterprise level business continuity solution can be offered to an SMB at a price point where they'd actually pay for it. Now, the beauty of it is, even with our competition, basically any really good business continuity solution goes through the channel. So if you've got an SMB that wants to move from that traditional backup to business continuity, they have to be working with one of you folks, and they're getting that. So we protect in our data centers, and we have 9 around the world, over 500 petabytes of data. The one that we just built in Pennsylvania is the largest channel-only data center in the world. We have 2 here in the States. We've got one in PA and one out in Salt Lake City, Utah. Just locations on opposite sides of the country, multiple copies of your data, different geographical locations. The way that we go to market with it is very simple. Back when I was a sales rep 5 years ago, it used to be pay as you grow. So every month it was that conversation of, hey, is my bill going to go up? And then I'm going to have to charge my client more, or am I have to prune off data? We've essentially gotten rid of that because we've got 1-year time-based retention, which means you get unlimited cloud data for a year, and then it starts to prune off, or for those clients that might be HIPAA compliant or need their data to never be deleted, we've got infinite cloud. Bottom line is it's the same flat rate. So you're not sitting there spending hours going through your invoices trying to figure out what do I have to charge my new client, right? Again, everything is through the channel. Everything wants to say, okay, every piece of technology we offer, every advancement comes through you guys, that leads to that technology. All right, so basic things about business continuity. What is it doing, right? Again, everybody you talk to is going to have backup for the most part. And they think, why do I need to outsource backup? I could do that. I've been buying it on my own. Well, they don't know what business continuity is then, because they don't understand that it's vastly different than just backing up files and folders. We're taking an image of that entire server. Operating systems, applications, everything lives on that on-premise device. It's subsequently replicated to those 2 data centers. They have full base image of everything. It's going to allow you to do that instant virtualization, which means your systems go down, you get hit with ransomware, before you even start worrying about the restoration piece. Let's just get you up and running. Let's just make sure your systems are up and running. For the most part, if you're running off on-premise, the people in the office aren't even going to know what's happening. Then you can go in and do some forensics, see what's going on with that device that's down. But in the meantime, you're up and running, right? And we're testing that automatically. One of the things we were first to market with was screenshot verification, which means, yeah, we're testing all the backups. Everybody tests all the backups. We test these virtualization capabilities every single night. VM is spun up in the background, brought up to a boot screen, the screenshot is taken of it with a timestamp, so you know the virtualization capabilities are there as well. Think about walking into a quarterly business review and saying, yeah, you know this thing you're paying for? I'm testing it every single night. Here are those boot screens. They're right here, right? That's what we're trying to do, is validate all these things that we're doing and showing that they actually work. So the failover is very simple. I go out and do MDF events. Well, the thing I still do the disaster demos, which means I'll run a presentation off of a laptop. I'll pull somebody out of the crowd, give them a hammer, set of glasses, let them smash this laptop. Who doesn't want to smash a laptop, right? Everybody loves it. This thing's destroyed. But let me spin up a virtual machine and get it going. 20 seconds, I'm back doing my presentation. Now you've got a captive audience who might not understand ZFS and all the different cool things we do, but they do remember that this guy came out here, they destroyed his device, and he was up and running in 20 seconds. So that's very, very critical. We have more restoration options than anybody in the industry. And that again came from pain points that we have heard, right? So regardless of the system, regardless of the way you need to restore, we've got an option for you. Also, all managed in a single pane of glass. All of your clients, all of their data that you're backing up, very easy. You see little, hopefully pretty green dots, everything's going along perfectly. If something goes wrong, you can be proactive about it. But again, it's all single pane of glass. Everything comes down to total cost of ownership with everything that you're buying and selling. So the more time you could save managing all the technology that you have, the more money you're actually making. People talk about margin and say, yeah, I got 40 points on the hardware, 40 points on the MRR, that's great. All right, but at the end of the month, you take a look and you actually didn't make any money because your techs have now spent all this time managing your fleet. The easier we can make it, the more money you actually make. And then that's why we also have the 24/7, 365 support. You pick up the phone, you're going to talk to somebody in this office, Rochester, somebody US based, any time of day. We got sleep pods up there. There's a storm. These guys don't leave. That's why you see all the food and snacks and Lego walls and all that stuff to keep these guys up and running, right? So you got the on-premise as well as the replication. When we look at the actual devices, right, we keep it very flexible. We've got devices that are 250 gigs up to 100 terabytes. We've got devices that we can back up Macs, we can back up Linux, we can back up Macs. We can back up virtual environments. We have an image solution, which means we can repurpose existing hardware. If the burden is, okay, I can't get over this hardware cost because they just made an investment, we could re-image that. Basically give you as much flexibility as possible. And in terms of size, the point here is, we've moved up market as a channel. Back when I was in sales, the largest device we had was 36 terabytes. And if you sold a 36 terabyte device, balloons would come down, everybody would cheer for you, you were the best sales rep in the world. And I remember we offered 40, 60, 80, I said, who's going to sell one of these things? Now, you go pull up Salesforce and look up opportunities, that's the norm. 24, 36, 40 terabyte devices, that's not anything that Datto did. That's the fact that the channel has moved up market, away from the 5, 10 seat folks, all the way up to 500 seats or more, right? So that's why we have that flexible product line. Now the Cirrus platform is our flagship platform. This is going to give you the ability to do that local virtualization right on premise. It's going to have ransomware detection, which means that we're not testing for individual variants, but because we're backing up a base image and then setting up those incrementals, we know that we can see they're moving along basically around the same rate. All of a sudden a ransomware attack hits, it's going to leave this footprint. You're going to get an alert. It might be a false positive. Maybe you took another base image, but you're going to get an alert saying something looks pretty funny about this backup. We also have inverse chain technology, which means every single one of those backups is independent of one another. They're not layered upon previous backups. So system gets hit with ransomware at 11 o'clock, you could roll back to the 10 o'clock backup, do that virtualization, eliminate the infected backup, and get your client back up and running. This is powerful. You can show this to them very simply. If everybody needs slides on end user decks, let me know, send me an email. I've got a million of them because probably 70% of my presentations are to end users. We also have our Alto line. Now this does not give you the instant virtualization on premise. The virtualization happens in the cloud. So it's bandwidth dependent, it's going to be a little bit slower. But if you're having those conversations with your clients, and you start to say, okay, what's your recovery time objective? How long can you be down before it really impacts your business? Maybe you do find somebody that says, I can be down for a day, but I still want these capabilities. Well, the Alto's a perfect fit. With a 1-year commitment, the hardware's free. Look at $79 an agent, right? Up to 2 terabytes. So there's a position for this, but you can't walk in and start selling an Alto versus a Cirrus unless you understand what that client site is, right? And what their goals are. Ultimately, with all the product line, we're trying to reduce downtime. We want to make sure that we're reducing that downtime because that's the value that you're adding, right? And the bottom line is on the technology side, the product just works. It's not something you have to worry about. Your techs aren't going to spend a ton of time on. Again, it comes down to total cost of ownership. That's the only thing that your client cares about. Easiest way to lose a client is to say, I've got this business continuity solution, to finally call you up and it doesn't work, right? And that guy's really not going to trust you. So that's really one of the things that we try to differentiate ourselves with. I mentioned the restoration options. This was a pain point. I mentioned the things that I hear about and bring back to the think tank. Restoration was one of them. We would hear that, you know what, it's great, you guys are really good up front, right? We can spin up things very quickly, but those restorations are painful. So our think tank tried to provide as many options as possible, including fast failback, which now allows you to keep your client up in the virtualized state while you start copying that image, while that restoration begins. So now you go back to that last incremental, reboot the server, and now your downtime has been reduced on the front end and the back end as well. So when we say instant virtualization, again, just show them this. Utilize, we have a sales engineering team that's fantastic. and they will get on and do a demo, a screen share demo, their close rate is something in the 70% range. Because they could show it, they can tailor that presentation to however you want it to be, right? But again, we're talking about getting you up and running, getting them to understand, I'm not selling you backup, I'm selling you business continuity. Because the cost of that downtime is far greater than the cost I'm going to be charging you for this business continuity, right? And that downtime could occur for a lot of different reasons. And again, managed all through the portal, single pane of glass, super simple to use. It might shock you to know that I'm not the most technical guy in the world, right? I'm a biz dev team. But I do these demos all the time. That's how easy it is. So if I could do it live on stage in front of hundreds of people, any one of your techs can do this. That's how simple it is to manage these devices. The idea here is, regardless of what's happening, it's a fire, another Hurricane Sandy comes up here, a ransomware attack, anything like that, we're going to be with you through that technical support, DR testing. You can do an off-site testing every quarter. Maybe you need a seating to our data centers. You're going to get one of those free with every device. Every quarter, you need to send another thing of data up there, so you're not waiting for that to go up there. We also released at our last Datto cloud continuity, which means now we've got an image-based product for those endpoints. Another thing that we've been asked for a long time, right? So for that company, the road warriors that are out there that need to be that backed up, you don't need an appliance for this. It goes directly to the cloud. It's very simple to deploy, very inexpensive, flat fee, right? It's not something, again, that's going to take a lot of your tech times up. It's that image base. It gives you bare metal restore options, ransomware recovery, cloud virtualization. All of that's included in this. And so it's very, very easy to deploy. And again, it's another thing to add to your monthly recurring revenue. Say, yeah, you like what I'm doing with that server? I could do that with your endpoints as well, right? Really easy to deploy. One price, you get to a terabyte of data. Very simple. So have conversations over at the table about that. Now, to wrap up unified continuity, we also have SaaS protection. In my opinion, this is the easiest thing in the world to sell. When I go out and do a lunch and learn, I include SaaS protection even if the partner really doesn't want me to. So I'm like, this is easy. Let me show you how easy it is. Backing up O365, G Suite, they all should be backed up, right? Why back it up? Because ultimately, both of them have the shared responsibility model. They will protect the integrity of their cloud, but the data is responsibility of the tenant. All right, I've sat in Burlington, Massachusetts headquarters for Microsoft on a panel next to a senior solutions engineer. She said that to the crowd, 200 people. You guys bear some responsibility. I want to take her with me and say, go on, sell SaaS protection. It was easy, right? So it's something you should be including. Go and look at it. I mean, there's 300 million licenses out there, right? So there's a ton of them out there. A lot of them are not being backed up. You heard of Ransom Cloud. We had Kevin Mitnick, one of the most famous hackers in the world, come to DattoCon. He created a virus that provided a ransomware to O365. He showed it live on stage. He had 2 different laptops set up. Email comes in. How many of your clients would fall for this? Anti-Spam Pro. All right, I'm going to click on this. Seems easy. You click on it. Every single one of your emails is now encrypted. The only email you could open is the pretty one with the pretty red screen. Just pay me my ransom. We have a video of this if you want to share it. It is not Datto specific. We had to record it and he made it a point to say I can't promote Datto. It just promotes the idea, although we didn't promote Datto, of course my boss has to get for this. It's a video. But so it's out there. That's something you're going to get, and I can show you how to get to that. But again, easy to deploy, easy to manage, all in that single pane of glass. So the monetization of this is very easy. We've got some really good success stories about partners moving up market specifically with SaaS protection. All right. We also have just file protection, which has been there for a long time, which still is something that you should be implementing into your stack of products. So we've got that. Datto Workplace for the file sync and share piece. So a lot of options. Wherever that data lives, we want to make sure we can back it up. Now, the networking side of things. We got into this space, again, a couple of years ago. Why did Datto get into the networking space? Because partners were asking us for it. We started to understand what networking was all about. And we know that the world needs networking, and it's so critical to everybody's operations, right? Everybody knows that. The problem is, this is one of those things a lot of SMBs think they can do on their own, even though they don't understand it. All right, they don't understand it, but they're like, I don't need to outsource this either. I can handle this type of stuff. And on your side of things, right now, your options aren't really built for the way you're selling and monitoring everything else. Because really, there's 2 types of vendors. You've got the commodity side of things, and this isn't to say either one of these sides are bad. Commodity is what a commodity sounds like, right? Mass adoption, trying to get as many units out as possible. The enterprise side of things, a lot of robust features, right? A lot of things that maybe your SMBs don't really need. There's downsides to both of this, right? The commodity side, they're not going to have the type of support, for the most part, that an MSP type vendor is going to have. On the enterprise thing, your techs are going to have to be experts in this, right? You're going to spend a lot of time. You're going to have these licensing issues, right? A lot of complex features that your clients probably don't need. So we want to fit right in the middle of it. We want to make sure the technology is providing the enterprise level stuff, but we also want to make sure that it's as easy to use and as channel friendly as possible. So we were looking at MSP friendly pricing, making sure that, again, cloud managed, like everything else that we have. The hardware is going to be capable. If you want to sit there and talk speeds and feeds, we're going to have a Solemn out there, and you can do that for sure. But again, 24/7, 365 support. You're not just going to some forum and figuring out what you need to do. Everything else is shifted to as a service. We're the first ones to make this leap and make the gamble that networking is going to be there as well. So ours carry a monthly reoccurring cost to them, but the hardware is very cheap. Now the idea is, as you expand your managed reoccurring model, we're going to add networking in there. I'm going to manage all your networking. This is another thing as part of my managed services package. And we've got great adoption, and we could have some stories when the partner panel comes up as well. So we want to make sure that we've got a full product line. We've got access points, we've got switches, we have edge routers with 4G failover, which has seen a lot of success. Managed power, to prevent some truck rolls. And again, all managed up in the cloud for you so that it's as easy as possible. All right? And on the APs, switches, and managed power, lifetime warranty. All right? So check this stuff out. All right? Everything is very easy to manage. This continues to be updated. We have new updates for it at DattoCon. Last year we will have more. Again, all managed up in the cloud. We've got new integrations with various partners, our friends at Citricom, really all the big players in the space. Again, that open ecosystem. But we also just introduced our Datto networking and RMN integration, which I'll get into in a minute when I talk about RMN. So that's what we're trying to do. We have a 60-day evaluation with this. Play with this, go get an AP, go get a switch, play around with it a little bit, talk to Solemn, and get some hardware into your hands so you can figure that stuff out. Now, talking fast like the micro machine guy, right? Trying to get all this stuff out before we get moving along. So, PSA, next thing, right? Our business management piece, right? This is very important, critical. Now, when I go out, and one of the reasons we split these two type of presentations up, so really you're talking to two different audiences, the folks that aren't using PSA, there are a lot of MSPs that aren't in that space, or folks that are using other PSAs and are evaluating different vendors, right? But ultimately, what is it that a PSA is supposed to do, right? Ultimately, it's trying to just increase your efficiency. Make sure that you're operating and you're servicing your clients as efficiently as possible. Making sure you're getting the data that you need to serve your clients and to uncover additional opportunities, right? Making sure that your techs are happy and making sure that it's easy for them to live and breathe in that. And then obviously making sure that those integrations are there as well. So the reason why folks invest in a PSA, pretty simple, right? Helping the service desk, getting you the reporting, helping the sales team, right? Really, this is their lifeblood of your company. So I understand if you're using a competitor that it's not always easy to rip and replace. But start having those conversations. Because as we try to go and say, okay, what kind of changes can we make and what differentiates us in the market, we're listening to that feedback, right? We were born in the cloud, 100% cloud-based, 4 nines uptime for the last several years. So you know that that's going to be there. And it's going to allow you to centralize those operations, right? And get that data that you need to make decisions for each and every one of your clients. We now have accelerated our roadmap in terms of new releases. Both on the PSA side and the RMN side. And again, these aren't just little simple ones or things that we're doing just to say, hey, we made a new announcement. These are things that have bubbled up and we need to address. And there's a way to go into your PSA and make recommendations. And if we see a common thread of recommendations, our tech team is going to go and try to address those problems. All right? As we started out with this merger, I mean, one of the things my colleague Eric Torres went down to one of our peer group and talked to a group of folks and said, put down a piece of paper and a pen, and said, tell me everything you hate about your PSA and your RMN. A lot of hands went up, right? He just took notes. He said, okay, now I know what I'm supposed to go back and tell the think tank about. And we have some advantages because we have half our team came from the BCDR side, half our team came from business management. So on the BCDR side, if you're a sales rep, you had a good relationship with your partner, you knew what PSA and RMN they used, what they liked about it, and what they did. Vice versa on the RMN and PSA side. So we know some of those pain points. It kind of helped us understand what our roadmap needed to be. So every time we have a new release, it's not just for the sake of having a new release. Dashboards were one that I heard up front were one of the things that were a pain point. Now, it allows you to customize, do whatever you need to do. Again, you talk about those quarterly business reviews. One of the biggest things I hear out the channel is they're losing clients because these folks don't really understand what kind of value you're offering. They're saying, I'm just cutting a check to these guys. I don't really even call them. I don't think I'm using their stuff. Go into a quarterly business review and say, hey, these are all the things I proactively solved for you that you didn't even need to call me for. Now, all of a sudden, you create that stickiness, right? So that's where the dashboards and getting the information that you need is super, super critical. Same thing with the opportunity UI. Again, this was the UI piece was something that we needed to address. It's going to help that sales team, right? It's going to help make that more efficient. Being somebody who's been in sales for close to 20 years, this is the stuff you need to make yourself run more efficiently, see what your pipeline looks like, see what you're going to project out for the month or the quarter and all the rest. And again, open integrations, try to integrate with everything. Third parties are now able to push data into our database. We're going to continue to expand that. We've got this big, large portfolio. We continue to announce new integrations or updated integrations, again, with some of our folks that compete with us in different product lines. And then obviously for the remote folks, we've got live mobile on the Android side, iOS side as well, for the folks that can be on the road, right? So those are the things we're trying to address, all right? On the RMM side, what is RMM doing for you, right? It allows you to proactively manage your clients' endpoints, right? This is what it's trying to do. You're going to have to do that regardless of what your managed services contract looks like. This allows you to do that. It allows you to prevent disruption so your life is not spent putting out fires. It's the worst way to run your business. Let's try to prevent as much as we can up front and respond as quickly as possible. That's why they're paying you as their managed service provider. So an RMM in general is trying to allow you to audit, to manage those endpoints, monitor them, obviously, support those folks, and then get those reports that you need. That's what all RMMs do, and you can kind of check those boxes off with that RMM and a lot of other RMMs in the field, right? Most of them do the same thing. So why do folks choose Datto's RMM? All right, well, first and foremost, the platform that you live and breathe in every single day. We want to make sure it's stable, right? And that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. It allows you to grow, right? Scalability-wise, being born in the cloud. A lot of folks say, I'm never going to be in a position where I need to manage 20,000 endpoints. Well, you'd be surprised. You see this shipped up market. I think, Mike, our largest RMM partner has 100,000 endpoints, something like that. Right? He probably didn't set out to think he was going to do that. So be prepared for that momentum that's coming, right? We are going to announce 12 new releases this year. It used to be 1, 2, 3 a year. Now our roadmap is accelerating. Again, these aren't little small patching updates. These are meaningful updates that we're seeing. We want to make sure that, yes, this is complicated stuff. Let's make it as easy as possible for your techs or you to go out and manage and make sure that that their day is not spent banging their head on the table. The security part of it, I'm going to get to that in a minute, is critical. The security of that system, and we've done some really aggressive things to make sure that the security aspect is a differentiator as well, and then ultimately just the experience of it, right? To say, like, I don't mind working on it. I actually enjoy it. It's actually making my life easier, right? This is what we're trying to do. So dashboards, again, can be tailored. Again, we're trying to make it as flexible as possible with all of our product lines. We want to make sure that you're customizable. You guys can customize whatever you want. It's going to give you those real-time insights to make those data-driven decisions again. That security that I mentioned, we're the first to market to have mandatory 2FA. And it frustrated some partners, to be honest with you. But our CISO said, no, we're doing this. Go read some stories. The MSP, the channels, are being attacked right now. And think about if you're a business model and you're on a criminal side, do I want to attack 100 businesses or one MSP? If I can get there, I can infiltrate all of their clients, and we're seeing that. Start reading some of those scary stories. So we want to be ahead of the curve on that. Eventually, this will be the market standard, but we're going to be ahead of it. And we're going to say, yes, there's some pain points to that. Some partners are frustrated, but we're making it mandatory, right? And so we're able to monitor our infrastructure. So that's extremely important. You don't want to talk to our CISO. Somehow he's the most calm guy in the whole world. If I was a CISO for Datto, I would sleep at night. But guy's a genius. He's a smart guy. He's very accessible. I pick his brain all the time. The HTML5 remote control has been key. And when I this released, me not living and breathing in RMN, sorry, what's so cool about this? This allows you to get in faster. All right, well, how fast can you open it? 30 seconds, 40 seconds. Now you reduce that down to 4 seconds. Start amortizing out this extra 30 seconds you're getting per tick, per time you're trying to access it, per day, per week, per month, per year. How much money are you saving with just the speed and efficiency to get in there? And then obviously we integrate with everybody, right? But there's always some limitations to how great we can integrate. It's always going to be better to work in-house, right? So there is that true unified integration here between our PSA and RN side, as well as the networking side as well. This was a release that we had at DattoCon Paris back in October. And again, we're eliminating that middleman. So now they're going to talk directly to each other on alerting, on the ability to go and restart ports and devices. One-click access. Again, you're not going to multiple portals anymore. Think about how much money you could save with that kind of efficiency. So again, we're looking at a single sign-on on that unified platform. Real-time data, everything's talking to one another. It's giving you that monitoring ability, contract clarity, which can be a huge pain point for a lot of folks. And then that unified analytics. Think about it. If you could just save 1 minute per ticket, start amortizing that over the course of a week, a month, a year. Start doing that math. This is critical, right? Most of the RMMs out there, we all do the same thing. So one of the differentiators for us, we want to make it speedy, we want to make it efficient, we want to make that user experience as smooth as possible. So, just went through that in about 40 minutes, our entire line of products. Again, this was some high-level stuff. Everybody in this room is going to have different questions. That's why we've got all the different tables set up. They all got their own unique microbrew, so at least go have a beer with them. So that's what we have. So, with that, I'm going to bring up my friend Cameron from WebRoot. As he comes up here, I'm going to use sort of our camera. So we travel all the time, and all the everybody competes with one another for awards, right? That's what we want to do, press presentations. So I'm up in Quebec, Canada, French-speaking Canada, and I get up there and I'm like, I'm killing it. Cameron comes up after me and does the whole thing in French. How am I going to compete with that? Somehow the guy's fluent in French. But with that, Cameron, here you go, buddy. Give him a round.
I work for WebRoot, but my job is to follow Mike and Rob Ray around the country and lose Best Speaker Awards. WebRoot, who in the room, I'm going to do that thing we all do and ask you a question. Who in the room uses WebRoot? Go ahead. All right, awesome. Got some good partners in the room. WebRoot is the most used endpoint security product in the MSP space by a large margin in North America. And it's because of our efficacy and our ease of use and our integrations in the RMM space. It just saves our customers. The state of affairs today's world are that SMBs are the primary target for ransomware in North America. And it's because they have more holes than larger enterprises do, but they have money that they can spend on the ransoms themselves. And SMBs typically vastly undervalue their data, which means they're not spending the appropriate amounts securing it, right? And that's your job. Your job is to explain to them the value of their data and why ransomware matters, so that you can then use solutions like WebRoot to protect them and Datto to back that data up. The space is getting more nuanced than it's been around ransomware and other malware. Primarily, the main driver being polymorphism and the usage of scripts to get into environments quickly and to get around what I would call traditional antivirus, right? Signature determinations don't work anymore because it's too easy to change files. And what that means is that more and more people are getting infected. And you guys as MSPs are having to rely more and more on backups. WebRoot's job is to leverage a lot of data and to use advanced AI to bring you, that would be me. Great job. To use AI and data to leverage as much of like the advanced technology out there to save you guys tons of time, so that you have less infections, and so that you can spend your time on more profitable ventures. Now, when I'm talking about data, I'm talking about large amounts of data. We've got 15 petabytes in the cloud that live in Google Cloud, AWS, and Azure. And recently, we've taken over the majority of the San Diego Supercomputer Center in order to churn that 15 petabytes of data in order to leverage that information. So we're talking about URLs and domains, the difference there being that we have to categorize good and bad URLs because the majority of phishing links these days are trying to house themselves on legitimate domains. We need to know domains because we're categorizing them. We have 80 different categories that every domain fit into so that you guys can appropriately filter the content that customers are accessing. IP addresses are important because we're looking at a range of reputations so that we can figure out what unknown programs are doing within your system and stop executables from connecting to known bad IP addresses. And we're determining what software is doing based on the IP addresses that they're trying to access. File behavior records are how unknown malware is categorized, right? Between that and file heuristics, that's how we determine what a file is doing. Mobile applications and iOS are increasingly important to your environment. So our cloud does a lot of work with our bigger intelligence partners like Cisco, Palo Alto, F5, Aruba to help them categorize what it is that those IoT devices and mobile applications are doing and what they're trying to do. We use that data in our modeling. And the more data we feed it, the smarter that modeling works. And it's all artificial intelligence that allows us to make determinations on unknown executables. And as a guy who was raised on like Terminator movies, I think artificial intelligence, and I start thinking about the end of the world. But the way that it actually works today is that we try to focus artificial intelligence into very specific categories that I just walked you through, right? Machine learning is the training of AI into those specific processes. And deep learning is the casting of neural nets over those models so that different models can train one another on the most effective measures. And essentially every day we compete new models to see what's most effective. And those most effective models are what we apply to the agents that you guys leverage in the business. Now, a layered approach is the only approach to security today, but these are the most key layers. And Weber's going to provide almost all of them to you. User education is key today because phishing is everywhere, and it's how malware is getting into your environments. Small to medium-sized businesses are way behind on training, right? They have their required trainings, which we can help you with, PCI or HIPAA or whatever the space is. There's usually some requirements they have to check off. But that doesn't do nearly the job it needs to in teaching them about what is relevant today in keeping their environment safe. So we'll help you fake phish them with emails, and we'll get you the trainings that you need to get in front of them. Then DNS protection sits on the perimeter of your environment and on every one of your machines so that you can apply the appropriate web filters into that environment, right? To keep things from like botnets, from continuously pinging into your environment, getting access to controls that they shouldn't have access to. It also stops people from being able to have the kinds of fun you don't want them to have while they work. The endpoint protection covers almost everything else, right? So URL blocking, it's going to block malicious URLs on the endpoint from the agent. Real-time anti-phishing watches JavaScript within the environment, within the browser itself to say, these are the kind of JavaScript we never want to allow, and to tank websites that are trying to push things onto your computer. Malicious script blocking is a huge one today. I mean, PowerShell has opened up the world to scripters and to programmers in a lot of really interesting ways. Your techs can use PowerShell to access a lot of information from us in really interesting ways. But it also empowers malicious actors to be able to stream malware on your system. So the ability to categorize those scripts and to make sure that you're shutting down processes that are enabling the wrong kinds of behavior are very important for many service providers. We look at every executable, we determine what it's doing, and the way that we do that is by step-by-stepping execution. So basically we let a program run in a controlled environment. And then if we don't mind its first few actions, we'll let it run in live, in your live environment, but we'll track every change to that environment so that we can reverse those changes off the system automatically. our behavioral or heuristic shields determining that file is back. When we restore that from that journal, we'll alert you, but at that point of alerting, you already know that it's completely taken care of. And that's kind of the story of what WebRoot's bringing to you, right? We do it, we're leveraging all this data in very lightweight products that are easy for you to deploy. Mike mentioned the Datto RMM agent that you guys can leverage. That is tightly integrated with WebRoot's endpoint agent, which means you can deploy it, and then all of your reporting lives in their dashboard. Single pane of glass, no headache for your text. DNS protection manages this through the same endpoint. All you need to do is set your forwarders to us, apply a filter. Security awareness training, very easy to use. Just input your users' emails and they're in the program that you define for them. Threat intelligence is what powers the whole thing, right? So you guys leverage that threat intelligence through the free products that I talked to you today. And that's WebRoot. Come to our booth where we've got a lot of giveaways. We're giving away some AirPods, socks, action figures, whatever my marketing team gives. So stop by and ask me questions about what it is that we do and how we come to business. Thank you very much.
I'm going to bring our panelists up here. Bring some chairs up here. So again, thank these guys for coming out here. I mean, they traveled from different places to come out here. They're great partners. I know them very well. I'll give you a chair. I'll give you a hand. Multitask. That's a little tight. So, I'm going to give you guys a chance just to briefly introduce yourself once you settle in there. Joe, why don't you start off?
Blinding up here, these lights. Joe Wright, Central PA Technologies.
Just a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in business.
Been in business since May 1 of 2012. And we are a full stack Datto partner.
Mike?
Mike Bloomfield, Tekie Geek. We're based out of Staten Island, New York. We've been in business for 7 years. We have 9 employees. We are not a full stack Datto partner.
Which you will be by the time this is done.
After that presentation, you ready to rock?
Let's go. Sign me up.
Hey guys, are you done?
I'm done.
My name is Jason Etheridge. I'm with Logic Speak. We're an MSP in Atlanta, Georgia. We've been in business since 2004, so I'm the old man of the group, I think. But we are also a full stack Datto partner. We were with Autotask before, and then Datto BCR, and we've been thrilled with the merger. And it's been really good.
Nice. All right, so we are going to open for questions. Kate's got this cool microphone she can throw around, and you can catch it and ask some questions. But I'll just start off with a question. You guys roll out Datto, unified continuity resellers. You name a time where Datto, that business continuity has kind of saved your client. I'll start with you, Joe. You have any good stories?
I have a great one actually. I think it was a Cirrus 1 or Cirrus 2 box, 10 terabyte. We had an HP guy come in and pull out 2 hard drives in EVA 4000 SAN. He insisted that you could pull 2 hard drives at once. I insisted no, but I didn't want to argue with an HP tech too much. He had people on the phone that were telling him the same thing, and as he pulled them both, metadata and everything crashed, gone. 42 servers, roughly 8 terabytes of data, wiped in a matter of about 45 seconds. So we pulled those, spun up half those servers in the Datto box. It was one of my very first experiences with Datto, and the director walked in screaming at that point. But by the time he was done screaming, we had most of his servers back up and email running again, so we were good to go. Meanwhile, I kicked the HP guy out and won't let him back in. To do that. So needless to say,
It's always a good thing.
now it's company policy, no one but a CPT guy will pull any hard drives from anything ever. So,
Mike, got any?
Yeah, so it was a Cirrus 3. I won't do managed services without a Datto, but I will do a Datto without managed services. So we had a client that we were doing business continuity, Cirrus 3. We got the call that he got hit with ransomware across 2 servers. We came in, we were able to virtualize immediately over the phone, come in on the weekend, get that everything rolled back. The rapid restore, this is right around the time rapid restore rolled back. in the conversation with him, said, please let's do an assessment, let's figure out what happened. No, we're good, you got it back up, we'll take care of it ourselves, they have in-house IT. About a week later, they got hit with ransomware again, Datto saved them again, and now they're a managed service client. And in the assessment, we found out that 42 users had admin rights,
That's how you design it, right?
down to the reception.
All right, Jason, you got any cool stories?
Yeah, I probably have the most recent one. It's from a week ago, actually. So we have a customer, they are a manufacturer and seller of goods, and we've been trying to get them on a Datto device for a couple of years, actually. And they use Dynamics SL, if any of you are familiar with that platform. But so it's beefy. They've got a lot of virtual servers running on VMware with a data store, an iSCSI data store. Anyway, long story short, a UPS died, took down their data store, corrupted it, so all of their servers offline. Thank God, a week before that, we had finally convinced them and put in a Datto device. So literally a week later, we used the device that we had just installed, turned it on, everything worked great, and literally saved their bacon. They swear, now I don't know if it's true or not.
Purposely, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. Best sales tactic in the world. But they swear they lose $50,000 a day if their servers are down. So I'm sure that industry is better.
Any questions from the audience yet? That's, well, a couple of you folks talked about how you're offering Datto. It sounds like, Mike, you said you can offer that kind of as an a la carte. Jason, you also said that you have some that aren't on Datto. How do you structure your managed services package in general, not beyond Datto? Do you have different levels of packages? Do you have a la carte? I'll start with you, Jason. How do you? So we have two levels of managed services. We started out with the silver, gold, platinum, the precious metals, and then we decided that silver clients weren't worth pursuing, and so we converted them all to gold and platinum. We provided backups of their workstations, kind of complimentary as part of that. So we're really looking forward to rolling out cloud continuity kind of in that place. But we don't yet require them to use BCDR, which is one of the things I'm really looking forward to doing, because it just saves time, money, everything. But so it's an add-on to our managed services, but we are pushing every client to go to BCDR. Thanks, Mike. What about you?
Yeah, so we have managed services, gold and silver. If you're on managed services with us, we force you to do a Datto appliance. If I can't guarantee your data is going to be there, well, why do I want to take the risk of having you as a client? In all of our managed service plans, we also have backup Wi-Fi standard in there with email protection. It's a complete stack, right? Security is the big thing now, so everything's included. If you don't want to do managed services with us, we do have a managed security, which is basically backup Wi-Fi. We'll do endpoint protection, which gives you zero help. We're just kind of helping with security. And we will absolutely do a BCDR appliance without any of that. So if you just want help in-house IT, or you just want to protect your servers and your environment, we will do that. I think it's usually a good foot in the door, because if actually something happens, you prove your worth, and like the example I gave, and then they become a managed service client.
I have, I'm a little unique. We have 3 levels. CPT Care is our top one, branded obviously after us. Unlimited support. It is standardized stack, Datto networking when it comes to switching, APs, WatchGuard firewalls, and you must take a BCDR if you have servers. Cloud continuity is covered in that, SaaS protection, Office 365. Basically everything. We have standardized a complete stack from A to Z. Whether you use it or not, you're paying for it. So on my initial agreement, it's just a flat dollar amount. They see now when they get the invoice, they see it broke down. By that time, it's too late. You wanted to pick something, fine, you can go somewhere else. I have no problem turning around and walking away at that point. I've learned that they'll come back to bite you. We will sell BCDRs. We have many into places with IT departments. I love those. Those guys take care of everything. Something we put in our agreement recently is you must reboot your server every 30 days. We had a lot of kickback on that, but our ticket count has, once they started doing it, they realized their backups run better. Instead of letting it up for 90 days, 100 days here and there, our ticket count's down. We have 2 other levels of service that get that full stack. It's just based whether we bill support at reduced hourly in the Pro Care, and then the basic care, no reduced hourly rates for support, and no after hours or weekend support at all. So basically Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Any
So will you include the data as a separate line item on the invoice every month?
If you're gonna ask a question, please play with the cool thing.
Doesn't
We've got
work.
that cool thing.
Was it not enough?
Jason, too
So-
quiet.
Doesn't even work.
It doesn't even work. I didn't say it worked.
I heard you though.
Everybody hear me? I mean,
Let me answer your question for you. So actually, the way that we do it is we own all of our fleet. We lease them to the customer with a 3-year term. At the end of that, they can continue if they want. If they don't want it anymore, we'll take it back and sell it to somebody else or upgrade, with the data upgrade program. But then that way we control it. They get a monthly price. They usually pay an activation fee that covers some of the hardware costs, and then they just pay a fee, which we have our model set so that we're kind of paying back the device after a certain number of months, and everything on top of that.
But it's
But
a
it's a
separate line
separate,
item.
Yeah, absolutely, a separate line item.
Yeah.
separate line item.
So, we do the same thing. We own all of our devices. They're leased out. The initial agreement, though, that they sign on that dotted line, there is no line item. I found that when you don't line item that stuff until they get the invoice, it's so much easier. So if they're getting VCDR, say networking, and just SaaS protection or Office 365, that just says monthly services, X dollars. When they get the invoice, then it'll be a separate line item because I have it linked in AutoTest to sync with those like PAX 8 from my Office 365, AWP and all that stuff. So then, yes, it broke out. By that point, as long as that bottom dollar matches what they signed, there's zero argument. They don't even question it or do anything. I used to do it line item over contract, and then they want to sit there and nitpick, well, do I really need this? Do I really need that? And I found that when I said yes, it's a lot easier.
You had a question?
So I'm struggling with developing my online services platform.
No, it doesn't.
It's like a.
So my question is, we understand that when we do managed services, we actually talk about user or proceed, and we decide to go for a user model, but we're struggling like with the networking, data networking, and infrastructure, till we charge what we call a networking configuration charge, and then ask per user or per seat, or how do you build the infrastructure?
I'm actually calculating that right now. I want to switch to per user. So the first thing you got to do with that is you got to have your cost. What are your costs per user? So when you have your cost over here for your Office 365, your SaaS, and so on and so forth, if you're paying for that switch at $5-6 a month, add that into your cost over here. Don't worry about breaking that $6 down over 20 users. Put that $6 cost as a per user seat. All it's going to do is raise your margin across them. I struggled with that same thing until my peer group got together and explained to me. I was trying to take that $6 every time for that 148-port switch and break it down over 25 users. I don't need to do that. Once it's wrapped up into one, so on average right now we're looking to be full-blown. We should be about $50 to $55 all-in cost, depending on the Office 365 license. I want to sell that at $150 a user across the board. And if you take that number and look at what my full-blown managed is, we're within a couple dollars. So it makes sense to do that, but that's how I've determined those back-end costs into that.
And just to add to that, what I would suggest is to have an Excel spreadsheet that's kind of your calculator, and then that way you can put all your costs in there and make sure that whatever rate you're charging them gives you your margin that you want. And your rate for each client may be different depending on the makeup of what they have. So if you've got a big company that has 4 or 5 48-port switches, then you're going to charge a higher per user rate than one that's got 124 port.
That's kind of what I was getting at before, when I was talking about you guys break out the data with separate line items. We do mostly per user, right? And we don't sell them a data, we supply the device. And we also don't mark the line item. It's all included. So rather than trying to sell somebody on a particular backup service or whatever it is, it's more adding value to the existing user price. And they can't factor it in their head that they're saying, oh, well, my backups are going to cost me this much. I'm used to doing it this way. Why I got to pay this now? It's just adding more value to that per user price, and they can't comprehend what the differences are between one or the other.
The only thing, and just to add to that real quickly, the only thing that we found that's kind of an issue there is that we'll have some MSP competitors in our space in Atlanta. There's tons of MSPs. You could throw a dead cat in, about 20 of them. And it's hard for our customers to compare, or potential customers to compare apples to apples. So they look at a single dollar amount. Well, this guy is offering me $125 a seat, and you want to charge me $160. I should just go with $125, right? Because you guys both do the same thing.
Right.
So then we have to really get good at explaining the value that we
Exactly. So
provide.
at the same time, if you're saying 125 versus 160, but the 125 is just doing this, but 160 is doing all of this other stuff.
Right.
Have him charge, give you a price and all that stuff.
The reason I like breaking the data down is, right, it's based on data. So you bring in 5 graphic creative team, they're gonna use a lot more data. So now if I have that line item separate and their service starts to go into the tier and now it's time for me to upgrade, it's much easier for me to have a conversation and say, look, your data set grew, here's the only line item we have to grow. If you have a hitting a per user cost and you now have to go, now you're having a conversation with them, your data grew and I have to raise costs across the board. I find it easy to raise that single line item.
You have some automated tools to generate the proposals and agreements, so how are you guys?
Drum roll. This is the only automation in that I have. I mean, I have a spreadsheet for all the pricing and stuff. I am looking at something called Zomental. It ties into, that's the one thing, hopefully the auto test people are listening to this right now, their quoting sucks. I'll be honest. They know that it's no.
That's
big
going to
deal.
get scratched out of the
Yeah, they'll scratch that.
They're quoting. It's awesome.
So I'm to do that. I've tried like QuoteWorks and looking at stuff. A lot of it, I think the reason the products fail for me is me myself not taking the time to put into it. There are plenty out there, but I have I must say it's a Word document that I just go through and fill out.
I'm not the only one that does that. I create the same spreadsheet every time. I should just automate it by this point.
I have a pricing calculator that I rename and it goes in the client's folder and it says internal use only. So hopefully no one ever sends that out, but too bad if they do, I'm going to let them know my clients know I am in business to make money. They just know that. Shame on them. But that's where I have that, and I have Word document templates that I use. So.
I quote through QuoteWorks for projects and use computers, but when it comes to my managed service side, it's a Word document that we go through, and it's about 30 pages, lots of branding, and selling my team, pictures of the guys, talking about awards we got. It's probably 15 pages of selling us, and then a couple of pages of going over pricing and everything.
So we're very similar. Currently, we do use an external tool for quoting of procurement projects and that kind of thing. But when it comes to the contract execution, right now it's Word doc or DocuSign is what we use for our contracts. But if you talk to me this time next year, we will be on a different platform that does all of our quoting. So I would have a different answer.
I have a DocuSign template.
Yeah.
I've gotten
Oh,
close to
actually
actually doing it, but I just haven't.
If you guys aren't digitally signing your documents now, man, you are taking too long to get your contracts executed. It's amazing. Hand up over here again.
Hey. That thing doesn't seem to work, so I'm actually kind of loud.
Yeah.
I think it's
Hear
weird.
me now? I have a question just in general about like Datto and using Datto in like a hybrid environment, and how you guys have found, if you have a customer that says, hey, I really want to, be able to have all my servers on premise for my ERP or whatever, but I also want to have this cloud environment, whether it's AWS or Azure or whatever, like how do we back that stuff up? Is this stuff, are you guys using this stuff to back up for your customers? Is Datto working for that? Are you able to actually take AMIs down from Amazon and stick it back up and restore it in Amazon Cloud? What is the situation with that?
So we don't, and we won't do AWS or Azure because of usage base. We do Green Cloud. Green Cloud will allow you to ship data to them. So it's still cloud-based. They have many data centers. But when we looked at going to the cloud, we have found that there was no way to replicate that data out of there without having all these usage charges. So I went to Green Cloud, figured out that I can ship them a Datto, they'll put it in the rack, and I can use a Datto just like being there. And it's much easier to price everything out. I don't know about you guys.
For some reason, the usage, we can't, the outbound usage of Azure or AWS makes it prohibitive to try to do some sort of BCDR solution with Datto. with a physical device. So we're doing image level backups inside the platform for that, but we really wish that we could use Datto.
Yeah, we'd love Datto for that side, but when we do cloud infrastructure, we'll try to keep them in a local data center where we could throw a Datto right in the rack.
Thanks.
Oh, question here? Okay, fine, great.
Here's the microphone.
Mike, it's gonna work for you now.
Hello.
It actually makes it quieter.
So like I said,
Thank God that designated microphones.
So, when you're putting the Datto in our Green Cloud, are you putting the Datto in the same data center as the production environment, or are you putting it to an alternate location?
The same as the production environment, just replicates the Datto's cloud. You can do, yeah, you can put it in another location with Green Cloud and do it that way, but for me, I still want to use Datto's cloud. I don't know the reason to do it otherwise.
They'll still use Datto's cloud, but to have this Green Cloud synchronized to that data with the Green Cloud, and that's synchronization.
Or would they charge you bandwidth for that if you put it in a different data center?
No. So you're saying, so I have my servers in data center A at Green Cloud. My Datto goes right below those. And then, so from that, the backups are, because they build the network inside so that it's there. And then I ship that data out to Datto's data center. Yeah.
I was thinking more like if Green Cloud data center A is where everything lives, but if B is a replication point, would it make sense to have, I don't know,
Well, so they include backups to do that. They'll give you like 7 snapshots, I believe, it is, to do that a day of their own.
Yeah, I did not heard anybody doing what you're doing. Yeah, that's cool. I know Green Cloud really well, so it was pretty cool. Everybody call it Green Cloud, tell me you want the jokes.
Yeah. Oh no, that's what got me to them. Someone else, I think Medicus in Atlanta. But
Okay.
I think that Jan's one told me, he was like, you can ship them a data box. I was like, I can ship them my own data box. I'm like, yeah. I don't have to have them buy it and then use it or anything. I should ship them that. So.
Cool. We probably got time for one more question. The next thing,
I'll take the one. Where's the one?
It's
No, I checked it.
We're using that.
I'll wait.
The next disaster demo right there. We should
start running out there.
At least I'm ready for it.
Yeah?
Yeah, go for it.
Be thrown around.
Beautiful.
of course he's with me, right?
It is me.
All right, it's gonna work.
Does it work?
Nope. So if your company or your client were to get hit by ransomware that does encrypt the data, how does the backup point not get encrypted for that data on there? How does Datto? I'm new to this side of it, so I'm like amongst it. How does the Datto component prevent that data from getting encrypted or?
It allows you to go back. It's your recovery point objective, right? So if you're taking backups every 5 minutes and you got hit with ransomware, you can jump to the recovery point right before you got hit.
But what if you don't know when that ransomware was, or
They
when
have a
that?
great tool that will tell you which backup got encrypted when it began.
It'll send out an alert immediately as soon as the backup runs. So we run our backups every hour. So most of our clients know that before the backup knows. And at which point, so sometimes it may not have alerted because we cancel it. So what you do, you have to go back through and mount one. All you have to do is mount a file level restores just to see what the files are under. As soon as you start seeing the good one, all right, that one's no good. And then just go back through it.
Yeah. Okay, so more reoccurring backups.
Yeah. If you have a Datto, if it's sized right, with 2.5 times multiplier for non-encrypted, 4 times for encrypted backups, you should be running them every hour on the hour at least.
And why not more often?
We find that our clients are okay with losing upwards of an hour of data. Now, some SQL servers and other stuff that we have are down to 15 minutes and stuff, but I'm fine with every hour on the hour.
We typically do every 15 minutes because we have the space. There's no extra charge for it. Why not? If I can take that recovery point and shrink it down, that's no cost, why not?
Well, there is a cost you have to buy bigger blocks. That's
Right, but if you size it right, you
Right.
know, for your data set, And you always could go to less local retention, and if you're buying infinite or a year cloud retention, it doesn't matter, you have everything up in the cloud.
That's something there. We standardize, we only sell infinite cloud. We had clients that wanted to save that 20% and then come back and actually go back more than a year once before and decided, for our own internal team, it's just infinite cloud. We don't actually tell them if there's a difference price-wise. We haven't had any kickback on that, but it's easier to stay.
It's only infinite as long as they stay with me.
Yeah.
All right, last question.
Yeah, so, coming aboard, Datto, I'm trying to figure out the pricing, pricing. So, I spoke to my Datto rep, I doubled the price what we got. So, but on the MSP side, is my prices different compared to when I'm just doing the one-off to, so I'm not climbing down on the MSP program, but I'm selling directly to them, right? And what will my prices look like when under the MSP platform?
So we don't charge different pricing for non-MSP versus MSP. We want to make our margins no matter what. And we have a complicated Excel spreadsheet where we figure out the discount that we get from Datto for a 3-year commitment, how much the hardware cost is, what the activation fee they're paying is. We call it an activation fee, not a setup fee, because people think we're setting it up for free, which we're not. But activation fee, and then whatever is left over, we divide that over the term, and then figure out when we're making our money back and we start getting the kind of free money. And that's how we price it.
Same here, we do the 50%. We don't factor any of our savings in. The client will never see any of that savings to build the price. It's doubled out of the gate, and we do a setup fee versus that. But I like that activation fee.
What?
To give them something
you know
for
what
free.
they think
it's
Datto's
free
getting
and
that
it's not.
money.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, activation fee Datto.
But yeah, we don't charge anything different. It's across the board. Like, so I just took their PowerPoint sheet and just doubled it through, so that when anyone wants to speak about it, they can. Now, we include disaster recovery in that too. I bet against them having a disaster. I'm a gambling guy. So 7 years, I think we actually had to do 1 disaster. Not bad. All my competitors charge about $5,000 in our area for disaster recovery. That has won me more contracts not charging that fee. And if I do some flower store, it's minutes.
So same price if you're on managed services or just business continuity. My spreadsheet's not really that complicated. I just like to make money. I'm not really going to tell you how much I make, but I make money with Datto, and I make money with Alto 3s that most people stay away from. I got Alto 3s out there for $350 a month. There's plenty of profit on that. We will do file restores for free. We'll do any virtualizations in-house, but if I have to step foot in the door, then we're in charge. But you're going to be discounted rates for any site if we come on site.
One last question. Do you guys sell the Dattos to your clients, or do you retain ownership of it? You guys both.
We both.
I sell it. I'll give them Alto 3s for free because I'm getting them for free. I'm starting to give Cirrus 4 X1s and X2s for free because they're cheap enough. But otherwise, I'll sell it to them. They're stuck with me anyway, so why not get the money from them?
I promise leadership we get done by 6. So I want to thank you guys for coming up because I got to do some more slides here. All right, they're going to be hanging around too. So a lot of times just having those conversations one-off. I mean, obviously they're all great resources, come from different places. So I'm going to wrap things up with some of the tools that we offer. So we went over some of the technology. You get to hear from some of our partners about how they're selling it, how they're working on their models. But we take a lot of pride because we're channel only, and I keep saying MSP focus on the different platforms that we offer you to help enable you in a lot of different ways, both on the technology side and the support side, but also on the sales and marketing side. So we've got great teams. I can tell you that probably 3 or 4 years ago, we did make an investment to try to go out and advertise to end users. We did go out and sponsor sporting events, and we had train ads, we even had some TV ads and radio ads, with the idea of we're going to gather all these leads, it's going to be great, we're going to vet them out, we're going to funnel them down to our partners because people wanted them. The problem is, being a channel-only company, it was really clunky, and it actually did not work out very well. We would get these leads, some people didn't even understand what we did. You'd spend a lot of time, by the time these leads got vetted down to the partners, they say, wait, I'm just talking to you, now I've talked with the managed service provider, conversation started. So what we did was we took that budget and we moved it over to a lot of different platforms to help you, including Market Now, which I'm going to get into. But you see all of these different things. I mentioned our MDF program. We've got all kinds of case studies and white papers and ebooks that you can use. I'm on a lot of our partners' email newsletter distributions, and I see them just taking our stuff and just rebranding it all the time. And I love that. You don't have to start from scratch. The idea here is here's what I want to go after for Q1 and marketing-wise. You don't have to stare at a blank screen and figure out what am I going to do. Go and look at all these templates. I mean, there's hundreds of different campaigns in there, and our marketing team does a great job. The vast majority of their time is trying to provide that stuff to you. So within that MSP report I talked about, every year we've done it. Biggest pain point for an MSP, sales and marketing. Now, it's been there every year. So I'll give you the silver lining of it. Last year, this was 53% of our partners said sales and marketing was their biggest pain point. It is coming down. Hopefully next year, it's not in first place. I think it's coming down for a couple reasons. One, the maturity of the market. The longer you're in business, the more you kind of find your sweet spot and how you go to market, how you're pricing things, and it does get easier. But also, and that doesn't just go for Datto. A lot of vendors are putting a lot of money into resources to try to help you guys. So leverage all of your vendors, because we're trying to make sure that this is easy as possible, because when you talk about total cost of ownership, it starts before you even bring that client on. There is a cost to try to acquire a new client. So, you just got to start looking at how can we make that more streamlined. That goes back to trying to provide some of those things that we're doing. So one of the things I mentioned, Market Now. We released this a couple of years ago. It is an automated, it's your own private marketing platform, free to all partners. You could have a single alto spending $79 a month. You get this platform, right? It's powered by Mind Matrix. It allows you to upload lead lists, set up campaigns, use all of those co-brandable materials, and set up these campaigns and then track them. We now have enough data, because we've been doing it for a couple of years, to see what the results are from our partners that have started using it. Right, so before using Market Now, just doing their traditional kind of marketing plan, they grew about 20%. Right, that was their kind of year-to-year growth. The folks that use Market Now, 56%. Right, because a lot of folks, sales and marketing is not what a lot of folks are doing, and most people that we talk to don't have a large enough staff to have a whole marketing department. This allows you to do that. Again, it's free. You have a dedicated partner